Raise the leg, raise the foot and jump.
You guys, the Now Morning Show, Tobago Thursday edition, and we just talked about Carnival, the extensive route and all the activities. So while you're jumping up, you might want to pay attention to your foot care. So this morning, Delicia Burris, the CEO and founder of Glorious Touch in Trinidad and Tobago, is making sure that our foot care is on point. She joined us via Zoom. So good morning, Delicia, and welcome back to the Now Morning Show.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me here again.
Always a necessary conversation because we put our feet through so many things but don't necessarily give it the care and attention it needs. So to begin, let's give persons an idea as to why we need to prioritize our feet and take care of them.
So your feet is actually one of the most neglected parts of our body, and only when something happens to our feet, say that if it's a cut, when you actually injure, say if it's a sprain, or actually when for some, I just always say getting into your younger years, you start to notice why your feet is so important.
Yeah.
And so that is why you need to start to take care of your feet. Even if you start to go for like a pedicure or you start to buy the proper shoes for your feet, that is why it's so important. Because remember, your feet just carry you where you need to go. It's great for mobility. It's great to help with strengthening your feet and for active lifestyle.
Now, Delicia, before we get into the lifestyle part of things, let's go with the basics, starting with actual footwear. Tell us what you might suggest for somebody heading into the Tobago Carnival to pack in that suitcase.
I will actually recommend getting sneakers, as it is great because it is breathable, it's great for arch support and the insoles. If you want more support in the sneakers, you could buy Dr. Scholl's. I recommend that. As well, make sure that the sneakers, it's not too tight, it's not too loose, it is well fitted, and they have great wiggle room for your toes. And also, if you're buying it brand new, make sure and try to break it in at least 1 week before the event. If you actually want to because there are some who does actually like to wear heels, you have Dr. Scholl's you can actually stick on, and you could actually wear it for hours on end, and you could dance and actually enjoy yourself for the carnival.
I'm glad that you gave both tips on sneakers, so we kind of cater to the guys and then the heels for the girls. But in terms of the sneakers, I want to go back a little bit because there's the wedge heels and different versions for us ladies. Any recommendations for or against those as we're in the season of fetting?
Yes, so the wedge heels will actually give you more of an arch support than the normal type of heels. The wedge will give you more of a more mobility. You could stand more hours on end with it. With the other type of heels, you'll be able to look good and look your best, but it'll actually start to give you a bit of a backache after a while. So the wedge, I will recommend more than the normal type of heels.
Got it. Now let's talk health and wellness a little bit. What is the one thing that you believe is overlooked when it comes to caring for persons with diabetes specifically? We know that it is a large part of the Tobagonian population, and it doesn't mean that you can't fit for Tobago Carnival as well. What should we focus on though when doing so?
One thing is actually overlooked, that they have to change long time issues. For example, that their eating habits, the way that they used to go with their lifestyle, as well as they have to start to take medication. For example, I have a client who now started to do diabetic pedicures, and she was telling me that the doctor told her she had to change the way she eats, the way she had to take her medication, as well doing foot checks. And there's the foot checks that was bothering her a lot. Like it's every day she had to do foot checks, so any nicks, cuts, scratches. So I was trying to explain to her, look at it in a different perspective. Look at it as a way of self-care. Take time for yourself and say this is a self-care. Not looking for any nicks and cuts. You already come in and do diabetic pedicures. Rather than you being a mother and a wife, you're using special lotions, you're making sure to check your feet for any type of fungal infection. You're doing something for yourself for once in how many years. And because of that, she changed her perspective of, oh my goodness, I have to change all these long time ways I used to do things and say I'm doing something for me for once.
I love that perspective. It really does make the task of self-care much less daunting and much more enjoyable. But granted that you're talking about changes that will be perhaps long-term, some of the foods or the eating habits that we should be looking at if we are diabetics, could you remind us of them just so that we can begin that today?
Sure. So with diabetics, they have to eat more complex carbohydrates, such as more whole grain, rather than simple carbs. So like the white flour, all those type of simple carbohydrates, they'll have to cut down or try to eliminate and eat more whole wheat foods, more green leafy vegetables, and also try to cut down on the sugar. There's a misconception thinking as with us called diabetic sugar, they think it does cut down all sugary foods, and that is actually not the case. It's actually simple carbohydrates they need to cut off as well as incorporating exercise as well too, and taking your medication. I have no problem if you want to incorporate holistic and take in like herbal supplements, but you need to follow your doctor directive and take medication of what the doctor prescribed.
Good stuff we can use. Now we're taking it whole body because skin, the largest organ on our body, also needs some care with that Tobago sun. Any tips for skin care as we head into the Tobago Carnival this year?
Yes. So as you just stated that your skin is the largest organ of the body, you make sure and apply sunscreen because there's a misconception that the melanin in our skin is enough protection from the skin, and that is actually not the case. We need added protection. That is why I just always recommend sunscreen. So always choose a sunscreen that have the SPF of 30 and above. And if you're someone who is constantly be outside like farmers, make sure and choose a SPF that is 60 and above and reapply every 2 hours. They could come in sprays, lotion, and creams, for example, and make sure and stay hydrated because remember the sun is very hot out there. Even if you're jumping up, get out of alcohol, make sure and stay hydrated. Your body needs it.
Remind them, stay hydrated and wear cool shades. Your glasses are actually reflecting pretty nicely, and that reminded me to get some shades for that sun too. But if somebody wanted to connect with you so that we can get those actual diabetic care endeavors booked, as well as making sure that we get the same tips you've given us this morning, give us the social handles, the numbers, and everything to connect with you.
Sure. So persons can contact me on social media via Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok on Glorious Touch TT. It is GLORIOUSTOUCHTT. And also my contact number is 477-3110.
Thank you very much, Delicia. I hope that too many people call you just for the carnival season so that we all take care of ourselves as best as we can. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Delicia Burris, the CEO and founder of Glorious Touch TT, giving us some skincare and foot care tips as we trot into the Tobago Carnival scene, many of which we could use.
Yeah, I know, I was very happy for that one when she said, you know, we often take for granted that the melanin in our skin is going to protect us from the sun.
Right?
It is not.
I'm
guilty of that, I have to admit.
Yeah. I've learned to incorporate the skincare, the sunblock in my skincare altogether because most moisturizers now come with a sunblock built in. But Tobago Sun, as we learned from our guest yesterday, has a different kind of energy that we harnessed in. So you definitely want to use it for good. We need to use that sunblock for sure. Guys, we're going to take a break. Come back with more here on the Tobago Thursday edition of the Now Morning Show, so stick around.
Jump, pull up your foot and jump. Raise it like raise the foot and jump. Carnival, pull up your foot